It is September 12th, 1683. On a ridge above Vienna, a Polish king surveys the largest cavalry force ever assembled in European history, just by a city on the edge of collapse. Beyond the walls, an Ottoman army of 300,000 men are standing in formation, and somewhere in the smoke, the fate of an entire civilization hangs by a thread. This is a story about what happens when hope runs out and men choose to fight anyway. The Ottoman Empire, in 1683, was the most powerful military force on earth. For 2.5 centuries, it had conquered kingdoms like Hungary, Serbia, Greece, and even the Balkans. Every decade, the Crescent moved closer to the heart of Europe. And now, Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha had convinced Sultan Mehmed the IV of something radical, that Vienna itself could fall. Vienna was the lock on the door to Western Europe. Take it, and the road to Paris, Rome, and the Atlantic lay open. Kara Mustafa assembled an army that defied comprehension. Historians still argue over the exact numbers, but the Ottoman force that marched toward Vienna numbered somewhere between 150,000 and 300,000 men, which include artillery, elite Janissary infantry, thousands of Tatar cavalry who burned and pillaged everything in their path. The column stretched so far across the Hungarian plain that soldiers at the rear couldn't see its end. Vienna had a garrison of roughly 15,000 men. The city's commander, Count Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg, watched the Ottoman vanguard appear on the horizon on July 14th, 1683. He did not flinch. He ordered the suburbs burned, every building, every church, every home, to deny the enemy cover. Then he sealed the gates.
If you want to hear more stories like this, battles where strategy defeated strength, where the impossible became real, where one decision changed the course of nations, then subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of history.
The siege began. What followed was 60 days of slow, grinding hell. Kara Mustafa's strategy was not to storm the walls directly. That would cost too many men. Instead, he chose to dig tunneling beneath Vienna's ancient fortifications, to pack the earth with gunpowder and blow the walls apart from below. Day and night, Ottoman sappers worked through the soil like dark water, finding cracks in stone. Inside the city, Starhemberg organized countermining teams. Soldiers pressed their ears to the ground, listening for the vibration of enemy picks. When they heard digging, they dug back, racing to intercept the tunnels before the charges could be set. Some of those encounters happened in total darkness, underground, with knives. The city's food supply collapsed within weeks. Citizens boiled leather, they ate horses. Starhemberg himself contracted dysentery and commanded from a stretcher, too sick to stand, too stubborn to stop. Messengers slipped out of the city at night, swimming the Danube, crawling through enemy lines, carrying desperate letters to the courts of Europe. We cannot hold much longer. Come now, or there will be nothing left to save. The man who answered was King Jan III Sobieski of Poland. Sobieski had spent his life fighting the Ottomans. He knew their tactics, their psychology, their weaknesses. And he understood something that the fractured courts of Europe couldn't quite grasp, that if Vienna fell, Poland was next. His kingdom was next. He called upon the princes of the Holy Roman Empire. He negotiated and threatened them. Slowly, a relief force took shape. Polish hussars, German infantry, Austrian cavalry, a patchwork coalition held together by desperation and the force of one man's will. By early September, Sobieski had assembled roughly 65,000 to 80,000 men. He marched them over the Vienna woods, the Wienerwald, a dense forested ridge that the Ottomans had left largely unguarded, assuming no army could move artillery through that terrain in time. For days, his men dragged cannons up slopes on ropes, cut paths through forest by hand, sleeping hours, marching the rest. On the night of September 11th, the relief army stood on the Kahlenberg Ridge above Vienna. They lit torches, thousands of them, visible across the plain below. Inside Vienna, the garrison were starving, exhausted, barely holding the walls as they saw the light and understood. They had survived long enough. Kara Mustafa saw the torches too. He had been warned. His commanders urged him to fortify the ridge and prevent a relief force from descending, but he refused. He was days, perhaps hours, from breaching Vienna's walls. It was the last decision he would ever make as a free man. The Battle of September 12th began at dawn, with infantry engagements on the slopes, vicious, close quarters fighting through vineyards and ravines as the Allied forces pushed downhill. The Ottoman lines bent but held. For hours, the outcome was uncertain. Then, in the mid-afternoon, Sobieski ordered the charge. 18,000 winged hussars and heavy cavalry formed the largest cavalry assault in recorded history. The Hussar Knights wore great wooden frames on their backs strung with eagle feathers, and as they accelerated downhill, those feathers screamed in the wind, a sound designed to terrify both man and horse. The Ottoman lines didn't break, they shattered. Kara Mustafa's army, which had held Vienna at siege for 60 days, collapsed in a matter of hours. The retreat became a rout. The Ottomans abandoned their camp, their cannons, their supplies, their treasury. Sobieski rode through a sea of abandoned tents and wrote to his wife, "God and the Lord gave the victory to our side. The enemy is in full flight." Kara Mustafa reached Belgrade in December. There, Sultan Mehmed IV's envoy arrived with a gift, a silk cord. In the Ottoman court, it was the traditional method of execution for a disgraced commander. Kara Mustafa was strangled in his tent. His head was sent back to Constantinople in a velvet bag. The Siege of Vienna marked the high water mark of Ottoman expansion into Europe. The empire would never again push this deep west. Within decades, Hungary was recaptured. The long Ottoman retreat from Europe had begun. Starhemberg was given a hero's welcome in Vienna. The emperor who had fled returned to a city he had abandoned and was celebrated anyway, because that is the privilege of emperors. Sobieski rode home to Poland. History would give him his due, though not always in proportion to what he'd actually done. 60 days. That's all that stood between the fall of Vienna and the collapse of everything that came after it. 15,000 men against an empire. A king who crossed a mountain range with artillery because someone had to. A cavalry charge heard across a continent. Europe didn't know, in that September of 1683, how close it had come. But the silence that fell over the plain below Vienna on the evening of September 12th, the silence where 300,000 voices had been said everything. The door had held. If this reached you, subscribe. The next battle is already being forgotten. Let's remember it together.